to help us deconstruct President Muhammadu Buhari's 61st Independence Anniversary speech. We're now being joined by Professor Anthony Kila. Anthony Kila, thank you for joining us. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Yes, I see you've been all over the place.
Good morning, yes.
I see you've been all over the place this morning. You must be excited by the president's speech. And as I said earlier, there's a lot to chew in that almost 100-paragraph speech. But what stands out for you in President Buhari's message to Nigerians on this special occasion of the 61st Independence Anniversary of Nigeria?
Well, I think I look at the speech and I see content and timing. In terms of content, I think the president and the presidency have taken their time to address the topical issues, which is what is bordering on people's mind. I contest the timing, and this is not something, it's not a criticism of this president. Let me be very clear about it. It's just a take on how we deal with things. Yes, the president has talked about what they're doing, their views and their efforts on issues affecting the country. But I argue that the speech of October 1st should be more about a speech of green, white, green, why this country is where is Nigeria and what is the ethos behind it, what is the vision. But I think it should be more about a speech of recognizing the founding fathers, tribute for those who dared to imagine an independent country, more historical and more visionary, rather than government giving account of the day and justifying its action. I have that view, generally. Then we can go to the detailed item. I am taken by the content on Twitter. I'm taken by the list of the infrastructure things. But I think overall, the timing and the content are something that really caught my attention, generally about Independence Day speech. Let me add quickly, because I think that Nigerians should be aware that there are 3 quote-unquote mandatory milestone speech every year in this country. One is the Independence Day speech. One is the June 12th speech, and another is the May Day speech, the inauguration of the new government. I think that is the day every year you say, thanks for electing me, as I've promised, this is what I've been doing. June 12th should be about democracy, and October 1st should be about the nation Nigeria is trying to be.
Indeed. So the highlights for you just said were the parts about Twitter and the parts about infrastructure. Would you care to expand on exactly why those were your highlights?
Well, I'm happy that Twitter is going to be suspended. I miss it, I must admit, publicly. I'm one of those people who did not take the shortcut of going over VoIP. I respect not respect, I've coerced to stay away from Twitter.
VPN.
And I think it's a...
VPN, you mean?
Yes, VPN, yes, sorry about that, yes. And, I'm not one of those people who took the shortcut. I stayed away from it totally, and I think of all those business and I fake it. So I'm happy that it's going to be back. I'm worried that any government can be strong enough to decide at whim, for whatever reason, to take away such big freedom of expression from people and then bring it back. I'm worried that whilst it appears, sort of commonsensical to say, we took them away, we've told them we're going to bring them back if they meet certain conditions, I do not like the idea that you shut down an enterprise, you shut down a means of communication, then you discuss with them to bring them to space. I think that runs counter to the principle of democracy, free property, freedom of speech, and the time-tested attitude of government to liaise, negotiate, and considerate before taking action. But, here we are. Let's just hope it comes back.
All right. Let's talk about the conversation on the unity of Nigeria. it's pretty much replica of that policy formula in the American military: don't ask, don't tell. Don't talk about it. It's non-negotiable, and you have secessionist agitators everywhere saying otherwise, and you have people saying, "Let us talk about it. The furtherance of this country must be discussed. We must discuss it on the table." And a litmus test for this will be the 2023 elections. And those conversations have started already as regards the North and South dichotomy. Let's talk about that. And let's also talk about a part where he said part of terrorist, sympathizers and those that are raising funds for terrorists, there is a serving National Assembly member. I mean, that's the closest I heard to really hitting home as regards terrorist financiers in this country. A serving National Assembly member. Let's talk about that area in the speech.
Let me read from right to left and, start from where you stop. I do not think it's presidential to just say there's a serving National Assembly member and not mention who. Actually, better still, I think the president will have been arrested yesterday or the day they discover it before the president mentions it. This idea that out of those men and women who we call honorable, one is suspected of grave crime, according to the president, and is still so vague. So when do we discover? What is happening amongst the members of the National Assembly? Are they chatting themselves? Do they have a WhatsApp group where they're asking themselves, who can it be? Are they suspecting the honorable member of one constituency rather than the other? I think this kind of approach, I have a lot of doubts about such things. A lot of people will be thinking about the gravity that a member of the National Assembly can involve in such things. I am not. I am more interested in the process. And I think it's a wrong process where the president drop hints. It's not presidential, I repeat. We will move away from that and we'll talk about the question of the national unity, which the president says is not negotiable. I think it's legitimate for the president as a human being and by virtue of his role and as a politician to hold the stance that it is not negotiable. But I also defend those who argue that it is negotiable. Actually, full disclosure, I believe it is negotiable. I believe that where Nigeria is today now, the national question, the national unity, whilst we do not have political ideology that divides us, I think it has actually created strong divides amongst Nigerians of different stratas. Wow. The question of national unity is a litmus test, and it has created an identity of who we are. So in this country, we have federalists, we have unionists, we have loyalist Republicans, and we have secessionists or, as it were, balkanists. Based on that, that is the new identity we have. The federalists are people who want to improve and go for true federalism. The unionists are people who are saying, let us go to a more confederate view, perhaps 1963 constitution, and let us see Nigeria as a union of different nations. Then you have sort of the Republicans or conservatives who just defend it and think it's untouchable. Nigeria is fine as it is. Then you have people who want to break it away totally. Unlike the president, I think all those views are legitimate.
Professor Kila, let me take you back to where you started from. You said you would have loved to have a bit of history in this Independence Day anniversary speech. Yes. What kind of history were you expecting beyond the focus on the present, what we call temporalcentrism in anthropology?
In anthropology, yes. The kind of history I would have loved to have seen, I wasn't expecting it, is not the style of this president and presidency. And by the way, it's not just this president, generally, it is not the style of our Independence Day speeches. I would have loved to talk about what led to the creation of Nigeria, to pay tribute to those who dared to move for independence, no matter how subdued their actions are. I would think on every Independence Day speech, the name of Anthony Enaro should pop up and perhaps recognize the struggle of the founding fathers so far, then link the presence to that past and project a future to say, so far, we started from A, we have gone up to B, and we hope to get to C. So you mix history and vision. That's the kind of thing I would have loved to have seen. And which doesn't take away from topicality. There is time for topicality. But I think it was very heavy on topicality and quite light on history and vision.
Thank you very much, Professor Anthony Kila, for joining us on The Morning Show and for your comments on the President's 61st Independence Day anniversary speech.